Welcome to Hope for Everybody, a channel that exists to highlight people and places that are all about providing hope to people in need. Check out today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hope for Everybody. Today we have an awesome guest, Cheryl Sargent with the Suubi Project, which is an amazing thing. I am fond of it. I did a documentary on it, so I care about it. But go ahead, Cheryl. Thanks for being here, and just tell me a little bit. What is the Suubi Project?
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
The Suubi Project. What is the Suubi Project? That's a loaded question. First of all, the idea initially started with Suubi bringing hope to people in Uganda. Mm-hmm. So during the adoption of our children, we just wanted cut.
No, just keep going. We'll just talk about it.
Keep going. What is the Suubi Project?
Yeah.
I've tried to get back to what is the simplest answer, and it's just a ministry that we're just wanting to bring people hope. There are a lot of dark, hard things in Uganda, mm-hmm. and we just wanted to, how can we bring hope to people?
And you saw this, you discovered it yourself because you were adopting children from Uganda, which forced you to be in Uganda multiple times, and that's how you saw the needs over there.
Right. So yes, during the adoption of our kids, mm-hmm. we were back and forth multiple times, and the Lord just put it on our hearts through seeing all of the struggles that these kids went through, the lack of family, the lack of, even if they weren't lacking family, their families couldn't care for them. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of kids that we were just interacting with in the children's home where our kids were. And so just seeing the needs was overwhelming. And every time I came home, it was just on my heart. We can do more.
Yeah.
And the Lord just kept saying, just that word, do more. Mm-hmm. Like you can do more. That I'm going to show you how to do this. And so that's kind of where it started. The dream. Of course, I had no idea how to do ministry.
Right.
I mean, I'm a homeschool mom that didn't even like to go to the grocery store by myself.
Right.
And so the idea of it was very overwhelming. And I remember Gary saying, well, did you hear an audible voice when we talked about doing this project that was bigger? And it was a joke, of course, but we just prayed about it. We just kept mm-hmm. praying about it. And the idea was, how can we bring hope to this community of kids where they don't have families, they can't go to school, mm-hmm. they eat very minimal a lot mm-hmm. of times. I mean, we were faced with kids eating tea and posho, which mm-hmm. is like this nasty grits thing. So it was just hard to watch that and not try and do something about it.
Yeah, and so it started, like I know what it's grown into, but when you first started, it started fairly a small thing, right? It was, you were just focusing on little kids for a while, right?
Yes, yeah. So when we first started, we just were like, well, let's rent a house somewhere and put some kids in there and help them find families or at least take care of them and send them to school. And so then with every visit, we just loved the people more and more, and we were connected with more and more people. Mm-hmm. We initially were sponsoring kids at another ministry. Is how that's how we got involved in Uganda. Mm-hmm. So we were sponsoring some kids, and that was a whole God thing too. It's like, I am petrified of going any airplane. So when he was like, go to Uganda, are you sure?
Yeah, it's like a 24-hour flight to get over there.
Yeah, it was very out of my comfort zone, for sure. And so, yeah, that's how just going back and forth started. Just the idea just kept growing.
Yeah, so here you are, you and your husband and your family, because you have a bunch of kids yourself, here in Texas.
Yes.
And then here you are starting something. First, you're adopting children out of Uganda, but then you're starting a whole ministry based in Uganda, providing all this stuff for these kids, which ultimately turns into way more than kids, because now you've got a church there, and you've got a school there, and you've really built it out in a big way. If somebody said, why in the world would you do this? Like, this seems like, if I said start a ministry, it seems like you could just do something here locally, just do something. And instead, God has you working on the other side of the planet. So what is the driving force for you to do this?
It really was all the Lord. Just the different connections that kept happening with Uganda specifically, and just praying into that. Like, what are you saying? Especially knowing my history of, I don't like leaving my house. I love being home. I love homemaking. I love being with my kids. Mm-hmm. And the idea of going across the world was just exhausting and terrifying to me. And so it really was just, he continued to put this idea of Uganda. And then with the adoption, because we have 7 biological kids, and the idea of adopting children never crossed my mind. Mm-hmm. It was a dream of my sister-in-law's, actually. And so that was a big, like, okay, are you sure this is what you're saying to us? So we started with sponsoring kids. That's where that all started. And then just the first visit, I asked the Lord, if you want us to adopt these kids, and show them to me. And long story around, in a really cool, amazing way, he did. And then we came back and obviously wanted to help more, and just it kind of grew. It just like, okay, if we're going to help more kids, start this home, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And so from there, we just like, what's the next step? We literally would pray, okay, Lord, what do you want next?
So it's just the driving force of you wanting to obey God and just saying, God, what's the next thing? And then He just shows it to you.
I think I told you in the kitchen sink. So my children, we had homeschooled my kids. And we were to the point in our journey where I didn't feel like homeschooling was the direction we should go anymore. And so I had put them in this small classical Christian school that I was a big part of. I was there all the time, just heavily involved in the school. But once that I got them settled in school, and then I would find myself at the kitchen sink of our lovely home that was just a blessing to be in, and looking at that and thought, okay, I don't want my life to be about this. What, my kids aren't here. They're here, but like they're in school. What is, I felt like there was more. And so my question to the Lord was, okay, what is it? What do you want me to do right now?
Yeah.
Like, why all of these different things? I never thought they would be in school. We loved homeschooling. And so there was a point when at the kitchen sink, he just started talking to me. And it was probably a year and a half journey through them being in school and all of that happening. And then it just kind of developed into this big thing.
It's a big thing now. It's a huge thing.
It is.
And we'll put the link up for people to see the documentary so they can actually watch it, because I was there for a New Year's service 6 years ago or something.
Longer than that.
It's long. It's been a minute. But there was thousands of people there. Like Suubi is a major noticeable thing in the community now. It's just an incredible thing. But what does Suubi mean?
The word Suubi actually means hope.
Which is wonderful.
In
Didn't know
Uganda,
that. But it means hope.
Yeah.
So how many ways, in what ways is Suubi actually delivering hope to the community? Because it started off as one thing, but now there's a bunch of things. So how is it doing that?
Right. Because we started off, we had some kids that needed homes. And so once those children were adopted out, we knew they would need a school to attend, and that's how the school started. And then we thought, well, we want to make sure that we are a lasting impact in our community. So that's why we're there. And so we built the school. Well, they need to know the Word of God, and they need to know who Jesus is. And so we started the church. And so that's grown through, now we have primary kids. We have, this year we're close to 120-ish primary kids that are at our school on property, with the church on property. And then we've started this huge, we have kids in secondary. We're nearing 100 secondary students. And then we've got all these university students now, and it just keeps growing.
Yes.
Keeps growing and growing.
It's massive. It's just crazy.
Well, and the cool thing, too, is that the Lord, it's widows and orphans, right? And so we started with all the kids being the focus, because that's where my heart was. And now I'm Mom Cheryl to thousands, literally, of not only kids, but these widows. And so we started this widow ministry that's just grown exponentially. And it's so cool because there was one, bless her heart, widow who had jiggers. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's literally these little tiny bugs that get inside your fingers and your toes, and it's super painful. It's very hard. And we met her, and she was living in the most dire situations. Her name is Proscovia, and we were just able to rescue her. We got her in a new house. We got her treatment for her jiggers, and then we moved her into our community. A lot of times these older people get left by their family members because they're just a burden.
Yeah.
And these, I guess their children are trying to provide for their children. And so they're the parents of these kids. So these elderly people are living in just the dirtiest conditions a lot of times. I mean, they're sleeping on cement floors, sometimes dirt floors most of the time, literally with trash as their bed. And so that was one of the first things we did. We ran and got some mattresses for all these ladies. But that grew. So then we offered goats to help them make money, and we built houses, and we built kitchens, and we found out that when you meet the practical needs of someone, because if you have people that cannot afford to eat, the last thing they want to do is listen to you talk about Jesus.
Right.
And so just like Jesus fed the 5,000, he knew they're getting hungry. They're about to not pay attention to me anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm hungry, my attention is not on you.
Right.
It's like, when can I? So we just decided, how can we help them practically? And then from there, just to see them now, they come to church, and they have their little widows ministry that we do, and our kids too, our primary kids, they start with Jesus, and And their families, they're literally changing the family. So it's our heart was for the children, but when you minister to the kids and when you help these children be fed, because they get 2 meals a day at school, which a lot of them only eat once if they're at home, and it's very meager, then they can think about other things, and then they can see, oh, my life can be different. This doesn't have to be it.
And that's another reason why when Chandler was talking about having people as guests for this show, that's why I thought of you, because I know he, Hope for Everybody cares a lot about doing that exact thing. A lot of the ministry work is just the hands-on dealing with people's needs, because it's really hard to talk to people about Jesus or share hope about Jesus to people when they are so distracted, when they don't have a place to live or a place to sleep or a place to go, a place to have food. And so when you do that, then that opens the doors and people are far more receptive. And so you've seen that extremely successfully in what you've done. Like the amount of people coming and going is unbelievable. Especially considering you're way over here in Texas. And people like to think, I can't, what can I do for the community? I'm just a person, normal, whatever person. What can I do? But I think you had a willing heart. And you said, God, I'll do it. Honestly, and then God's like, cool. And then he just takes off. And now you're part of this thing that's growing.
We laugh a lot. Like, why did you choose me? I do not understand. So, He'll use
So
you.
what's the future for Suubi? Where are we going now?
That's a good question. So hopefully we just keep going. But for the last 15 years, I pretty much do this alone still. So when Gary and I first started it, when God put it on our hearts to do more after the adoption of our kids, we just okay, we have this money sitting over here, let's just start building stuff. And so we got busy building, and we didn't get connected with the church. We didn't have sponsors or donors in the beginning. It was just okay, we're going to build this church, we're going to build this school, and we're going to just figure it out as we go. And that's really what we felt like. We didn't want to wait, and I don't know, we're just let's just get going, because we're just gung-ho, let's get helping people right now today. And so it's grown so big, but I'm still doing it by myself. And so and I keep asking, okay, Lord, do you want somebody else to be part of this? Like, how do we partner with someone? What's that look like? And we've had volunteers on and off, and but it's just getting so big, I cannot handle it anymore. And now I know I'm not doing it with excellence, and I want to do it with excellence. And my life's changed a ton too. So just my time looks different. And so at this point of our journey, I'm asking him, okay, do you want someone to partner with us, especially for all the secondary kids, which these kids, our community is so excited and proud of them, because especially in rural areas, the children hardly finish primary school. So when they go to secondary school, their grandparents had not even achieved that. And then not only are we getting them through secondary school, now we got them going to university. Or some of the kids that start late, we've got them going to trade school. And so we've just had kids graduate where, this one precious girl, she's become a nurse. And then we have these teachers. And then we have one that's an electrician, and he comes back and he works on stuff at Suubi, which is the coolest thing ever to see when you're, I put you through university, and look, you're doing an actual job that can support yourself, and you're helping Suubi again. And a lot of the kids will say that, oh, we want to, come back and help Suubi. And that's the heart we want for them. But it's just grown to this place where, okay, I cannot keep up with this all anymore. What does that look like? We need a secondary school desperately. And it always comes down to just, you need money. You need more money. Because the most amazing part, because I think you had this on one of your questions, is a struggle.
Which I was going to go to next, so just jump right in there. It's perfect.
Well,
perfect
I just
segue.
remember, because a lot of times you're just going through, like you were talking about, you just get busy and you're just doing it. You're literally just swimming forward so much, and you just okay, Lord, what's next? And you're just trying to make sure everything stays good. I remember at the very beginning when our money started running out, and Gary would say, okay, Cheryl, we've got this amount of money in this account, and then at some point it's going to run out. And I'm like, okay. He goes, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, but God's going to show us. And next month, same thing. Okay, it's down this much. What are you going to do? And I don't know, God's going to show us. We found out we were being taken advantage of, and a lot of money was being stolen. And I remember thanking the Lord that it was our money, because if anybody outside of me and Gary gives me money, I'm like, I'm going to make sure I spend it right on what you want. I'm going to honor you in what you do. So thank the Lord at that point it was just our money, or I would probably have quit, because there was no way to account for that. And so that was we found out our first country director had been taking money, misusing it. He was building his own house in this other place that we didn't know about. I mean, it was bad. And so, but the Lord was always faithful, because I would be here And I would just be on my heart, and I'm like, I've got to go back to Uganda.
Yeah.
There's just this pressing, I have got to go back to Uganda and figure out what's going on because something's not right. And sure enough, we'd show up and there was some ordeal going on. So the Lord slowly showed us this deception and the stealing that was going on.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there and going, I've got to fire this guy. I cannot let him keep doing this. And it was terrifying because we had already been in some really sketchy situations. It's a third world country. You're out in the middle of it. We've had machete wielding people standing there, kind of threatening. And so I'm like, how am I going to do this? But I had so much peace about it. So we ended up, I think I've crossed over into two different stories about the money, but that was the biggest struggle because we learned that you can't trust everybody.
Right.
And I grew a lot in that. And there were things that we were so gung-ho, we didn't put in certain things that we needed for checks and balances.
Right.
That kind of thing. And so, but the Lord just really revealed it and put a person in place that was behind the scenes that I remember asking, well, what's this guy do?
Yeah.
And he ended up being the most amazing man and God-fearing and humble, and we were able to put him in that position. And the money part was that about the time, so now we're trying, we got to keep this thing going because a lot of people thought it would fail, which it could have. Mm-hmm. It was going to fail if God didn't do what God did. And so we had some summer teams go and visit and got some kids sponsored. And so that started growing. So by the time this account that we had labeled for Suubi ran out, mm-hmm. the Lord had completely brought in other partners and sponsors, and there was never a glitch at all. And it was so humbling to see that as long as we stay true to what He's doing, He's going to get us there.
Yeah.
He's going to provide for us. And I remember thinking, because Gary would say, okay, I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know, but it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And just to be in that place and realize, okay, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And just to see what He's done since then.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a common problem. Both those things. One, building a community when you're trying to do what God calls you to do is also hard because you're trying to do the thing and you don't always spend the time building a community or having time to develop a community.
Right.
Which is another reason why I hope everybody wanted to start doing this because
that's great.
There's a lot of great communities doing things that people don't know that they're out there. They don't know how to help them. They don't know any of that stuff. And then dealing with fraud and dealing with money and how that transfers and how to do it safely and where's my money going and all that kind of thing can also be a hugely problematic thing.
Right.
So having safety mechanisms in place for that
we've really corrected that issue.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, because now it's other people's money.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that it's getting where it needs to go. So yeah. And God just really... He saved us, He helped us, and got us here, so.
Yeah.
If you're liking this content, please help us grow. Like, subscribe, and let's keep the good times rolling. Now back to the episode.
Can you think of a time where perhaps your organization was spending money, but trying to do something that you later learned there was another organization already doing that thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are other organizations that put kids through school. Mm-hmm. I have not seen a specific widows, like as much as we minister to widows, I have not seen that. The problem is, and actually the interesting thing is two different ladies that visited Suubi have actually started ministries in our little community that are a little bit different. But the goal is you're still ministering kids. And what we found out, there was a school that was up the road from us, but there's so many children. It doesn't. You can't overlap.
Yes,
you're never going to run out of needy kids.
Yes, it's not a crowded market
of
people trying to help kids.
Right, yeah. And so if there is, but it's interesting though, I wouldn't say it's necessarily partnerships that happen. We've welcomed the community and we've actually helped other schools and other churches, but it's not like you're holding hands with someone and helping that way. But
have you ever felt used or abused by the people that you're helping?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's, I think what helped kind of get in the right mindset of it and not take it personally is they're desperate people do desperate things. And we have a lot of desperate individuals. And we have, and my heart was to help it. I just want to help everybody. If they come to the door, we were going to help them. If they had a need, we were going to help them. And so over the years, just learned how to do a little bit more investigative work to find out what the need is. one of the things that really helped me a lot was nobody's dying. I mean, that's going to come off wrong. But if you have someone that's desperately injured and is dying, then you respond to that differently than you respond to someone who is needy and needs help, but also has the means to help themselves maybe. And so you take the time to do more investigation and just see where you are and that sort of thing. But yeah, so many times. I've been lied to my face. I can't tell you how many times. It was very disheartening.
Yeah.
Because you want to help people and you don't want to be, but learning to ask the questions, and learning that you can love somebody and still not hand them, whatever.
Yeah.
Making sure they always feel welcome. They're always welcome at church. They're always welcome. We have a water well. You're always welcome to come get water. You're always welcome to, you're welcome here, but I'm not going to trust you with everything that you say. I mean, we've turned kids away, or mainly it's like guardians and parents that we've had to turn them away. And that's hard. It's really, really hard because we want to help everybody and we want to make sure that everyone's taken care of.
Yeah, but you also have to be good stewards with your resources and time that you have.
Yeah.
So, if you just...
Yeah. And getting a right team around you too that says, and I've really grown in the trust of my team in Uganda. They are, when we have the conversations, and they've learned my heart.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we first started, they were like, whatever you want. And I'm like, no. I don't know. You're the one there. You know the culture. You know the people.
Yeah.
I need you. It needs to be a partnership. And so we've developed that with our current country director, and it's amazing.
Awesome. Well, how can people, because obviously the goal here is to have people watch this, hear about your story. We want people to get involved with Hope for Everybody. We want them to get involved with your organization, things like that. So if somebody sees this, watches the documentary, or wants to know more about Suubi, where can they find out information? How can they get in touch with you? How can they give to you, all that stuff?
Well, we have a website, thesuubiproject.org, and Suubi has 2 U's.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it up for them.
Yeah, because we get that messed up a lot. I forgot what your question was.
I just want to know, how can people find you, get in touch with you? How can they give to you? Is it all through the website?
But the lady that was helping with that, she just delivered twins, so we're very excited for her. So that's kind of, it's paused because, but just helping, it's just, it's, everybody can do a little bit. And I think people get scared of committing to something. We do, hope that when our sponsors, we need kid sponsored. That's the biggest need. We need kids sponsored.
And they can do that off the website.
Yeah, primary and secondary, and even university kids. But we also need just general donations. Those are very helpful because the kids that aren't sponsored, we can use that for school fees, or we can use it for things that nobody wants to, fix the water well pump. So that's always harder. So general donations are great. But with our sponsors, we want them to get connected to the kids, and we want them to understand that it's not just it's not a small thing.
Yeah.
They're connecting to these kids, and the kids they carry around letters that they've received, and they carry around the pictures of their sponsors, and they become very connected. And so when they have a sponsor that leaves, it's really hard.
Yeah.
I usually don't tell them they've left. We just kind of figure out a way to keep them in school.
Yeah.
But just the connection, not just, I don't know. Well, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage people to check out your website, look at all the information, see more about your story, because it is incredible. It's.
Well, we need to update the website because we have lots of stories that aren't on there. But again, I'm doing everything. So how do you?
So let's get some help.
I need some help.
Sure.
Anybody that wants to do computer or website stuff.
Yeah. Well, Cheryl, thank you for coming on and having this conversation with me. I'm always excited to share about you. We want to share Hope for Everybody here. Yeah. And so, appreciate you being here and talking and all that stuff.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
We've reached the end of today's episode of Hope for Everybody. If you'd like to be a part of the show and tell us your story, please visit us online at hopeforeverybody.org.